Hey everyone. So a little bit of something new. Especially since I have all this time, I wanted to spend some time researching other Fakemon, other Pokemon that aren't from the main series. I'm very familiar with the canon creatures, but I have hardly ever really seriously looked into Fakemon. And I thought that seeing other people's perspective on what Pokemon can be and what attributes they may have would be a good thinking point for when I'm creating creatures. Seeing what the industry is more leaning towards versus what fans want for the Pokemon series. And I might get new ideas about what body shapes can be, what types can be represented as. I know in Pokemon generally, normal types are gray or brown a lot of the time. And I've tried to mess with that a few different times. Just by adding spots of color where I can. Something like Box Hen has bright, vibrant red and blue, not to represent heat or water, but to represent America more generally. And stuff like that. I don't know what I'll learn from this, and this will just be a test. I want to go through an entire Pokedex at a time in each video, and then just comment on something generally at the end, but then each individual, probably line, maybe individual Pokemon or Fakemon. We'll figure this out. In any of these, I will give you a link to something. If it's for a actual game, I'll send you to a page that I think is perfectly fine. I probably won't send you a direct download page. It'll probably be something more along the lines of their website or a Wikipedia article that links to where you could get the game if you wanted to. I just don't want to be blamed if this game is more of a virus than anything. So be wary when downloading these files. I'm not downloading any of them at the time of recording. I'm just looking at their Pokedexes that I can find generally online. So we'll get into it. Pokemon Sage. This will be this week's video on reviewing Fakemon. And apparently this has been in production since 2012. I was just reading up on this. So it started in October 2012 and has been in rough design production since early 2015, it seems. And they have a demo available. So this will be the redirect page that I give you guys. It is an RPG Maker game and it boasts around 200 creatures, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's on a different page. Okay, find over 200 new Pokemon across Urobos. And yeah, with a game this grandiose, I am feeling a little intimidated. I'm just trying to come up with 100. I hope they have more than one designer or a designer that can focus on solely that. The Pokedex by itself, I have a large list of just what they have available, but I'm gonna zoom in as far as I can just to keep the focus centered. So their grass starter, and all of this is off the cuff. I don't look at this for too long. Immediately, I love the pops of red. The red in the cheeks, even though it does represent Pikachu, that might be by design to make it noticeably more Pokemon. The eyes, too, are very, very similar to Pokemon, and I like that design. I'm not sure if I like the oval, the ovalness of it, but it works. And also not having an iris, but no sclera. That's interesting. I'll have to think about that more. And then the idea that the eyes show innocence, and it decreases with each evolution. Definitely a flora bird, and I'm always a fan of birds. I like how this tail is too. Feet are a little interesting, and the final evolution having a sprouting flower. Always very nice, and I like the hummingbird design. So a fire goat. If I'm not mistaken, that's still keeping with the zodiac wheel, so I'll input something if I'm wrong here. But very simple design. Little bit of a mix of Charmander and Cyndaquil for the tail. Though I can't be mad at that. I do like that little baby. Even I feel like I'd mess with the colors a bit more. I'm not sure how I like the brown itself. Maybe more of a maroon, like these colors would suit it better. But you also don't want to tie it together too tightly. So, still not bad. I would change that color though. For the mid stage, I don't. The two colors might be a little too similar. It almost looks like a blob of maroon. And, I'm less excited about this one, but it's still so good compared to... An artist always thinks his art can be better. And as an amateur artist, everything astounds me. So everything's better than mine in my point of view. Yeah, I would change the colors a bit more, and I'm not sure how I like the tan disappearing in the middle. So I'd maybe recolor and add some tan somewhere in this design. Yeah, I'm not so big of a fan of the mid stage, but the horns are a little weird too. Just that it goes from this smooth design to very jaggedy and rough, then back to smooth. I don't know how I feel about that. The final evolution, I think it looks dope. That's a great final. The little bands around its hooves and its back, the helmet that it has, oh, it looks so cool. Almost like a, well, samurai or knight. I love it. So, yeah, third evolution is absolutely magnificent. Water. Okay. So lots of scales. I do like how the hand motif is carried on throughout the lines. It's definitely its most standout feature are the almost armored platings on its head and arms. I'm glad that the final evolution does have it on its tail and kind of knee guards as well. And that it goes to its claws, so that it is also a tough fighter. It represents more of a branching and use of defensive items. If this thing's not a tank, I'm gonna be a little disappointed. Let's go to the final evolution and see specifically what its stats are. Tank. Okay, good. Great. That's a great representation of its tanky build, especially with the bulging neck muscles. At first glance, I didn't think, or I wasn't sure how I felt about this, but they're warming up on me. Aguade, I guess? Iguadium and Awanut. I like it. I have to say, they've been growing on me. Even the mid stage, which is usually the runt of the family, it looks cool. It doesn't look super similar to its pre-evolution. And the green actually helps you out there. I would maybe add change the color of the X to be more of this turquoise to represent the middle stage. But I mean, the dark colors on the tail and lower half, it carries the line on enough as it is. Is there a... Oh, there's a final evolution. So start with these two birds. Very owl. Very owl. Despite being how simple this is, I like it. It kind of brings back a Pidgey simplicity to me. Well, this one just makes me think of Gurren Lagann. Which I actually really like that reference. Okay. Let me look at the final evolution. I love the first two. I absolutely love this first two, and I agree that this one's more of a second stage than the third. But that just looks like Braviary to me.
which...
What generation was Braviary? 6?
So...
When did Gen 6 come out? This had to have been around the same time, if not just after? Okay, so it
Braviary came before this, I believe. So,
it's too similar in my opinion.
it's a cool design, but it just makes me think of that other Pokemon. Yeah, it only brings back ideas of Braviary to me. Heck, even the pose. Oh well. It's probably the pose that's drawing me off the most. If they change this design, maybe.
Or it changed the pose, it might work better for me. But the first two are great.
Braviary's...
Rufflet, it doesn't look anything like the other two. So, the line as a whole has
very good promise, but the final evolution needs to change.
I like what they're doing with the bright pops of color for the normal rodents.
Okay, it took me a while to realize, but yeah, they're definitely rodents. I like the emphasis on their arms,
So it definitely brings an idea of digging.
and it almost looks like this is
Like a beanie with the little bulb on top.
I like it. I really like the capybara. I don't know how I feel about that. I cap. Okay, so yeah, they are hat designed.
I really like it.
The wavy lines, the bright color, even that just happy smile that this little lad seems to have. So yeah, I love that line.
Cub Zero and Avalynx, ice types.
I feel like something's missing here. The splots of ice can work,
But I think it works better on this next one, almost.
the fawning. But ice coming off of fur seems a little weird to me. Maybe if they did something where it was more lines running down a leg, maybe into skates or something. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. It definitely needs pops of color elsewhere other than just the nails and fangs and eyes. I don't think it needs to come from rocks in its body. It's a little weird to me. And the top... It's really odd that the top of his head is where I look the most, and I think I'd redesign that. It looks a bit too plain to me. The tail is simplistic, but that's fine for a starter, and then it changes a bit. I love the broad forehead. Bringing your eye to that is... I don't think it shares too many similarities with other canines or cat-like creatures in Pokemon. Love the broad forehead. And the little tufts of fur help to distinct itself from the previous fusion or evolution. Not bad, but the cap rodent family, I love that. Okay. So, next line.
I'm gonna be going a little bit faster. Just because 200, Jesus.
So,
Overall, first impression.
love the simplicity of the beginning, even though it's just all browns. The weird, there's small bits of horns sprouting. I like that. I like that it looks kind of simple and you might just mistake it for something generic.
Then it ends up evolving into something with almost a... Not topaz. Definitely not topaz. Chrysocolla? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Just a deep turquoise. I like that. Middle stage, Okay, I like the face. The face is friendly, inviting, and it has a different eye structure than the seriousness of the third and the simplicity of the first. I can appreciate that. The tuft of hair, sure, you can go with that. I don't think I would. But that could be something specific to the series. The puff of hair on the final evolution kind of showing that. But I have several questions. First, the horns on the final are huge. On the smaller one, they're really small. Wouldn't you expect some sort of horns here? Are these almost jet-like protrusions, ears or horns? If they are one, where are the other? The neck is strange. I don't know how I feel about the two different colors. It definitely brings your attention to how long the neck has gotten. But then, what's with the blue in the body? I like how round it's meant to look, but the roundness is shown less on the pre-evolution, which you think it'd be the reverse, and not at all in the final, so it's not a line motif. If you're gonna introduce the blue, sure, that's great. I don't think I'd do it in that way. It almost looks like the brown coat is just that, a jacket with legs. In the final evolution, the white definitely helps make it look older and more experienced. The faded brown, I like it. I might would have faded the horns a little more. I can see it on the edges looking faded, like they're being used. But overall, I like the final design. Okay. Ice and ice rock. Ice rock's gonna be something that's hard for me to wrap my head around, just because it's, yeah, trying to come up with a type with a Pokemon with that typing is gonna be a little weird for me. And if you're gonna do that, okay, because it's such a weird combination, I can understand what they did here, just showing that snow has fallen on a rock and showing that the rock itself is cool on the inside with the blue stripe almost down the middle of both of these Pokemon. But the pre-evolution is cute enough. I like its design, and you might not even recognize the arms as arms to begin with, and I kind of like that. It almost looks like a ghost, and it might spice up battles a little bit because you're not sure which one it is. But blue kind of gives it away, but it's enough of a hint that it still keeps the battle good enough for people who are paying attention. The final evolution, I don't know what to think of that. The snow looks more like gems with the way the shadowing is here. The shadows are very harsh, and I don't know what happened with the legs. The legs just ended up being I really don't like this final evolution. Yes, you can spike it up to look at more, to make it look more fierce. I wouldn't think that I would have added this thumb. Maybe if you kept it just the fingers, it'd look better. And maybe not so much, I don't know, layers of almost looks like bricks or tile. That is, I don't know, makes me think that this thing's wearing shin pads, and I don't think that's what you're going for. Ooh, that's cool. Okay, so immediately with a Bluffin, I love the color. I absolutely love the color. It's a central white that almost looks like a blank canvas. This thing looks innocent just with the pure white and the black stripe. And I love purple. I'm a sucker for purple, and the clear opposing sides of the color wheel definitely bring my eye to this Pokemon in particular.
I absolutely love it. The simplicity of the legs is fine.
Coming up with the legs for bird Pokemon is just so
Meh. I'm not exactly sure what this thing's going for. As a mix to Puffin, if it's just ice. But, almost looks like a paintbrush tail. Almost looks like a paint bucket fell on its head.
I can see this being more of a normal type. Like Smeargle. Oops. And then it evolves into this beauty. I love how the tips of the wings turn into ice, but it's not the entire wings. It's almost separated by a strip of ribbon that you can see on its eyebrows too. It also looks like ribbons themselves are coming out of the tail in both yellow and blue. And then you have the little purple dots. I'm not sure I would have gone with dots, but I still like that because it seems like an evolutionary advantage type scenario where it could look like eyes to a glancing predator.
This thing looks so fierce. I would have this on my team, no problem.
Now we got a thick line. Heavier set or tougher, stronger looking Pokemon, I always have problems drawing. So, and I generally don't have a good connection with. I don't think I like that design as much, but I know I want to incorporate it into my game. So, Coblin, Cobrus, and Cobalt.
Okay. Cobalt, dark color, I can understand why you did that. I'm not sure it looks like a final evolution. It's...
Okay, so this is a strange line. Very strange to me. Because the first one looks very slovenly.
droop down, kind of.
Why am I here?
Second one looks like it's definitely fired up. It's looking serious. It looks like a final evolution.
Like, the slovenly first stage found motivation to do something. And then it passes its prime and becomes an old man that's stuck in his views
Stronger than ever before.
I like how Dark and Steel is represented there, but it does not look like a final to me. I don't know, I'd maybe change that up.
Gigard. Terra Tetra.
Peblosa. Okay, I like Peblosa. The name itself is adorable. And the design, oh, it looks so cute! Just having the one nail protruding from the front hind legs. I love what they did with the tail. Almost looks like two rocks combining.
Little neck brace is adorable. And no facial expressions, kind of continues down the line. Not bad. It looks adorable in the beginning and almost stoic in the final.
The second evolution could almost be a final in and of itself,
And the last being a mega. Okay, so the tail on the second evolution looks a bit strange to me, but it definitely looks like more of a boulder on the last one.
Sorry, I realized that my camera's all flips.
So it definitely looks like it's gathering power the more it exists on this world by gathering
Materials.
Oh, that's...
And its thin upper arms on the second and final almost look like it has to survive. It's interesting. It's not exactly my type of Pokemon to go towards, but I do appreciate it. Maybe I'd change up the eye a bit in the second stage too. It looks very, very similar to the final. It definitely can carry on through a line, but the stark contrast of the first one's eye and the last two, I don't know. I really liked what they did with the eyes on, I forget who it was. Was it, well, actually, Awade. That works perfectly. and Kawati by itself. I like it. It definitely conveys the electricity through the yellow and the blue, as always. Which maybe I would have stayed away from that. But it's a motif for a reason. Very Pachirisu. The dark colors do help it a bit, and it still sticks with electricity being a more grounded force. It looks adorable. And I like how it doesn't exactly follow the Pikachu motif. It looks much more angular, much more square, pointed, thanks to its nose and its flat tail. Snowman Snoger. I see nothing wrong here. Maybe the final looks a little bit too human? That'd be my main thing. But the arms definitely don't portray human. It's mainly just the face. It looks too human. Maybe if you got rid of the mouth. If you got rid of this little crack right there. And, I actually think that might be it. That'd be all I do. Because despite how human it looks, I love the progression from the first to the second here. It's very simple. Yeah, great line. Now does that monkey? Oh, that's a big boy. Okay. Tamarin? Tamarin? Naming Pokemon generally. Naming main series Pokemon is hard enough as it is. Naming Fakemon's gonna be a thing. So its design of the facial hair is very interesting. The 5 points. It's weird. I don't know how else to put it. I'm curious what the stats on this are. So, Tamarin. What are the stats? Perfectly even. Is that going to be a motif for this line? It is. Okay, okay. So it's perfectly balanced. If that's the case, then I love how the mustache is perfectly symmetrical. Everything on its face, except its position, can be perfectly symmetrical. And since that's the case, I'm glad it's taking more of an odd stance than just turning. And I like how its tail is curling around to more balance the chaos and symmetry of the Pokemon itself. And then the next one, I have a slight problem with its pose because of that. I wasn't sure if I'd remembered that correctly. However, I do really like the fade from almost like a purple maroon to an orange on the limbs of Orangutao. Goodness. And I love the gloriousness of the mustache once again. But it just seems to be turned. So, I'd probably fix that. This line looks a little weird. I love the focus on eyebrows. The first one, you can see where it starts to begin an eyebrow. Oh, and it has tail spikes that go away. This is a strange line. But you know what? Even though all of these are very simple, I appreciate this bug line for the simple fact that the middle stage is not a cocoon. That alone, because it's a spider more than almost an arachnid, just a regular insect more than a cocoon. Oh goodness, that's such a breath of fresh air. It's almost like a larva, a adult, and then a ancestor, I suppose, that just learns to fly. I'm not sure how I feel about the eyebrows changing colors as much. Just because the first one, it doesn't really portray anything in particular. It just happens to be red, which is almost a false start. even though I don't like direct colors to represent typing, the only thing that would possibly indicate to me that this is poison type would be the yellow stripe on its phalanx. The very back of it. And even then, yes, your eye does kind of go to that, but it's very inconsequential and you don't think of it. I might would have done something more jagged, because that all the points on a different colored section of this Pokemon would bring more eyes to that position and go, now why is that a jagged yellow? And then that jagged yellow could also be a motif to show that this evolves into an electric. I probably would have done that. I like that idea, actually. Crust. That looks like a solo. All in all, I kind of like it. It's very tanky. It looks extremely tanky, and I like how its almost eyebrows or antennae cover its eyes more than anything. It's not something that I see very often. Oh. Okay. So, I think this is a line. I should probably check this. Number 39. Barretal. Dark type. It is not known to evolve into or from any other... Okay. So they're different. So, Mooseberry and Moose Bushel. I get the name. Initially, I think Mooseberry looks a little too rat-like. I'd probably change up the ears a bit. Maybe just the semicircles of normal. But overall, it looks pretty decent. Again, well, the thickness of the tail do make it look more abstract and fake than a realized mouse. But it looks like a generic cartoon mouse to me. But I do kind of like how it has an ankylosaur tail. That'd be hilarious to see in action in a game. And Moose Bushel. I like it. I like it better. It looks like it's been snacking on its own berries forever, so it's stained its snout. It looks like its tail has grown along with a plant inside of its tail. Almost like a parasitic species, I don't know. And it has more of a collar to grow more berries. So it looks fine. This line kind of looks... It just looks too realistic to me. I thought this was going to be a final evolution because it almost looks like it's eating these berries. But as a standalone, I think it looks too similar. It could be a final evolution to Moose Bushel. Yeah, I probably wouldn't really include it. I like dark types in general, and it looks pretty cool. Like, yeah, what's up? But I don't know. It doesn't seem to... It stands out as something I don't expect in this game already. Gromio and Montegru? I get it. It's Dandelion line. So I hate it already. So a couple things that stand out. I don't like these hands. Those hands don't look good. I don't like the mouth, and I don't like the eyes. I probably don't like the eyes because it's not a solid black. Like, this face looks great. This face doesn't. I like the motif of a fro, and it has to if it's a dandelion. Yeah, I think it's just called a dandelion. I don't think you give a name to the sprout in particular. I like how this has an emphasized attack, it seems, due to its long, strong arms and upper body. And probably low speed. I don't know what to think about this one.
The line itself, I love the possibility. I really don't like this first evolution. Really don't.
Tulip and Capulili. Wait.
Tulip? Okay. Surprisingly, this is just adorable. I like the having almost nothing on the face itself and just having your eye get drawn down. Or maybe your eye moves throughout this whole creature just from just a vertical movement. And it almost looks like a dress. Just a really poofy round dress, and I like it.
It looks pretty cute. This one looks stuck up and like an annoying stepmother, but I kind of like that. I changed the eyes to look more angry,
To give it more of a stuck-up nature, maybe. Oh, what are you doing? More like raised up. Oh.
Aside from that, I do kind of like it. It still continues the dress motif. And it looks more adult because of the asymmetric sleeves. Dreamdery and Macabre. I like the idea. I think the legs could use some work. They look a little plain, especially if you're going to be sticking one out like that. But I do like how it steals the Cheshire Cat smile. And that one just looks adorable. A+. I don't know why I started grading these. A 4 stage. I don't like it. You can completely follow through this line, but they almost don't stick apart from each other at all. It's the same thing. It is mushrooms growing on a hill for all 4. I like that they are different types of mushrooms, but the face mouth doesn't change. The eyes never open or close. Or in the final evolution with the screaming ghost mushrooms, which I actually kind of like those, you just get an extra line through the eyes. It seems kind of lazy. I don't want to say lazy, but they're too similar. Everything there is just too similar in that line. Rockano. I like how adorable that looks. I like how this one looks a little angrier than usual. So much red, it looks like it's gonna... You wanna fight? You wanna fight? That's what I'm getting from it. And then, Volker Alder. It looks tough, but I would probably change up the front face of it just to give it more design. Maybe give its forehead a large protruding, almost pompadour boulder or pointed rock just to make it look more tough. Yeah, I'd probably just mix up the coloring or the texturing of Volcarok too, just because it shares that same almost birthmark of the first evolution. It looks very chibi in the first one, but you can... It's a direct follow-through between this line. Maybe you could have done something like a dormant volcano, an erupting volcano, and the ashes and growth afterwards. I gotta write that down. That's actually... I like that. Bringing ideas, that's the whole point of this. And, I think I'm gonna call it off at that line. Just because... Oh, goodness. I'm about a fourth of the way through. So, it's been a good amount of time. This has been interesting. Lot of pluses, a lot of minuses in even just the first 54 of these creatures. This is very well, Yeah, okay. This is very strange. It seems like a bunch of artists all just joined up together, because the shading and texturing of this orangutao does not match Larvabide. I don't know how to say these names. But I don't know. If you're going to join them all pixelated anyway, I don't think it matters too much if the art looks too different, which is something to think about. I've always drawn an eye towards creatures with long, narrow parts, which is why I love this Bermudale. It looks so cool to me. While Cobras, it also looks cool, but I don't think I'd ever have it part of my team. I think there are some absolutely great ideas, and maybe some art theft. I'm not saying that it's art theft, but that's bravery. Braviary for sure. But there are just some really interesting ideas, and more because this seems like a group project. Lots of people can send out their ideas, and hopefully something sticks. Or they just send out their best stuff, and it's all amazing. Looking back, I'm glad this line isn't too similar. I think, especially because this is just the second line that didn't blow me away as much. I ripped a little too much into Pyro. Kind of like that name. I do like how it's different. I still think I'd change the horns. Maybe. But it's a good line. This has been an interesting journey. Different ideas. Every line definitely has a motif. You have just flowering Pokemon. You have growing into a warrior. You have defending your person, or defending your Pokemon. Just a defense in general, really. And then just Gurren Lagann. I definitely think a line of Pokemon comes from an idea and a species. And then a tertiary, if you need it, typing to flesh out more ideas between the two combining ideas. This has gotten me to look a little bit more critically at my own creatures, and hopefully I can go back and review my own epilogue and judge it just as harshly. We'll see how that goes. Thank you very much for tuning in. I don't know how much I'll edit this. And I will definitely continue this. I might continue recording, but this is too long. This is long enough for a video for sure. So, thank you. Have a good night.